Hello again. On Monday we have a regular Monday night Zoom hangout, and sometimes we do workshops with our training group. And this Monday we talked about goal setting, and I thought it'd be interesting for you to see a small part of that presentation. And I'm going to use the example of preparing for a bikepacking event or a bikepacking race, or really it works for anything, but that's the example I'm going to use. So goal setting for success, stepping stones towards the ultimate dream goal is what I titled the presentation, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to use some slides to help, and so there I'll keep flopping between the slides and the and myself. So in sport we use three types of goals. Goals called outcome goals, which are what our dreams are, the things we're sort of wanting to achieve. They might not be easy to define with hard data, but they're sort of what we dream about and what makes us all excited and gives us the inspiration to try doing exciting and different things that are challenging, and we sometimes might not be sure whether we can achieve them. But that's part of the fun of life, isn't it? Performance goals are things that are more tangible and easier to define with hard data. They might be that if you use a power meter, you might be aiming to say you want to be able to ride with a normalized power or an average power of 150 watts for 10 hours, or it might be that you want to be able to ride day in day out for 12 hours a day, have 12 hours messing about time and recovery, or 16 hours a day and 8 hours recovery time, and they can be more easily measured and they're more within your control, whereas the outcome goal might be dependent on external factors. Like if your outcome was to win a certain event, then if somebody better than you turned up, or somebody outperformed you on the day, that would be outside your control. You won't be able to do anything about that, but you still might have ridden to your best ability. So we like to use performance goals to give us a more tangible measure of success. And we can also use performance goals, the performance goal that we define as to achieve the overall outcome, as we can add smaller performance goals to break down the overall target. So it's a bit of waffly, but these smaller performance goals, like it might be that initially you'd need to be able to ride for if you want to ride for 10 hours at 150 watts, you've obviously got to be able to ride for 2 hours at 150 watts, and that might be the first stepping stone. Or if you want to ride for 12 hours or 16 hours a day back to back, you've obviously got to be able to do that for one day. So you might set a performance goal of doing one day for 16 hours as a stepping stone towards your ultimate goal and your ultimate outcome, successful outcome. And then the third type of goal we have is process goals. And process goals is basically what you do to achieve the performance goals and hopefully ultimately achieve your dream outcome. So if you do the process as you've planned it, if you've planned it well, you should achieve the performance goals, and consequently you should achieve your outcome. I quickly mentioned this slide. So evidence suggests that dreaming big's the best way to success, and even if you don't hit the ultimate dream goal, then you're likely to do something pretty good. So that's just a general note. And as I've mentioned, outcome goals have elements that we can't control, and success or failure is therefore outside your control, and they're not so easy to define with hard data. So the process of using these goals is that you want to create things that you can train towards. So you've got your outcome that you want to achieve, which in a bikepacking event might be to finish the event before the finishers party, or you might want to win the event, or you might want to finish in the top 10, and therefore you have to figure out what you would need to do that. So if you want to finish in the top 10, you can look at old results and see or I've got to, I'm going to have to finish within 8 days or 3 days, depending on the length of the event, and therefore you've got a time target, which is a sort of a defined target. And the same if you want to finish before the finishers party, you know you've got a certain amount of time to ride the event, and therefore you can start to break it down and say, well, I've got to ride so many kilometres per day to achieve that goal, which means that I've got to be able to ride one day, I've got to be able to sustain that pace, and you can start to chunk it down into more details and create stepping stones of what performances you have to achieve in training, or be able to achieve, so that you can reach that outcome and realise your dream. And the example on the slide is just a way that we've it's actually for a time trial, but that shows that you've got to be able to ride at a certain pace at certain periods, and consequently you might look at the hills and say, well, I'm going to have to ride be able to ride these hills at this sort of pace so that I can achieve my goal. And spending some time breaking everything down so that you can understand it in small pieces is really important. I mean, a good principle to work by is, if you dream big, have big goals, big exciting challenging goals, but in training look to make small steps. Each small step builds into your successful outcome. And but if you try to make big steps, it's overwhelming, and also it's also quite hard to work out where you're going, what you need to do, because the bigger goals tend to be a bit more vague, or a lot more factors. So breaking it down into small steps is really what you need to do. So these small steps are what we call, and what you actually do, are the process goals. So and process goals are just what you do. And if you do the process goals, if you complete the process goals, both in training and in your event, then you're more likely to achieve a successful outcome. So process goals might be training at least 5 days a week with one long ride, doing one big long weekend every month, which allows you to train for the back-to-back training, carry all your luggage, practice the systems that you're going to use. You might want to do one interval session per week that improves your pace, your average pace, to improve your your threshold pace. You've probably heard me talk about that in previous videos. Get your speed up, and therefore slower speeds become easier, and your average speed that you can actually sustain for the duration of the event gets easier and goes up. So you start to move towards achieving your goal. Don't neglect things that are other than riding, and because training, having a healthy life and getting enough rest, getting your mind right, things like mental skills and mindfulness, maybe 3 times a week, eating properly, so you get enough protein, fat and carbohydrates in your diet so that you recover properly and maintain a healthy weight, and maybe measure some subjective metrics or hard metrics like heart rate when you wake up, heart rate variability. Look at the trends in your heart rate variability to pick up on the trends, which might show that you're getting a bit tired and you need to back off a bit. So doing a lot of things around your training and leading a good lifestyle, a good routine, and being consistent are really important in supporting your training, supporting the processes of your training, and developing the performances that form the stepping stones to your ultimate performance goal and being a success in your dream. So the process is get your outcome goal, have your dream. You might have that already and you might be watching these videos to learn about how to realise your dream, and dream big. That's good. Why not? Dream something that you're really excited about, that you really want to do. Transform that outcome, the dream, into a performance goal. So you start to think, well, what do I have to do? I have to ride the event in 6 days or 3 days, like we said, to achieve that successful outcome, to achieve your dream. And then you can break that performance down into smaller chunks, like I need to be able to ride 300 kilometers a day or something like that, with so much climbing. And then you can figure out whether you can do that. If you can't do that for one day, then you need to develop the ability to do that for one day, and then be able to do it again on subsequent days. If you can't, and you can allocate, say, well, if it's going to take you 16 hours a day, can you do the distance in 16 hours once? If not, can you do half the distance in 8 hours once? If not, then can you do it in 6? Can you do a quarter of the distance in 4 hours? Build up in stages, get faster, and create the process goals to meet these chunks in performance that form the stepping stones to your successful outcome. And if you complete all those process goals in accordance with your plan, if you've got a good plan, then you should have a successful outcome. The other important factor to note is keep reviewing this, because things change as you go along your journey. Things might happen better than you'd expected. Actually, you might get fitter quicker than you'd expected, which is great. Or you might get ill, or something might go wrong, and then you have to sort of revise your plan, revise the processes if the processes aren't working, revise the stepping stone performances if they're too ambitious or not ambitious enough, until you get a great plan, and then you have a really good success. And I really wish you luck in your event. If I can help in any way, then please get in touch, make some comments. If you like the video, subscribe. It would be really good if you can subscribe and help me along in developing more of these videos. And if you like it. Okay, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.